Hey folks, this is Matthew Zachary, and before we get to the show, I wanted to tell you about another show from Offscript Media called The Cancer Mavericks. It's an 8-part deep dive narrative into the very story of cancer survivorship and the movement that started in the United States 50 years ago. This is not a podcast about the disease of cancer, it's a podcast about the people who made it better for all of us. Please search for The Cancer Mavericks wherever you listen to your podcasts and follow so you don't miss an episode. Thank you.
Welcome to the FUMS Now podcast show, where you'll gain information, inspiration, and motivation for living your best life with multiple sclerosis. Find us online at FUMSnow.com. I'm your host, Kathy Reagan Young. Today's guest is Kathy Chester. Kathy is the owner of Disrupt Fitness Gym, the host of the Move It or Lose It podcast, a personal trainer, an MS personal trainer, and an autoimmune trainer. She currently trains clients that have Alzheimer's, scleroderma, and other autoimmune issues, and MS, of course. Did I also mention that she herself has MS? Well, she does. She's truly an inspiration, so let's go meet her. Hey, Kathy, welcome to the FUMS podcast show. Thanks so much for being here. Hi.
Thank you.
Hey, Kathy.
Very fun to be here. Kathy, yes.
Yeah, the chatty Kathy.
They're like, are you the Kathy Chester? I'm like, no, I'm not the Kathy Chester. I'm Kathy Chester. Not Kathy Reagan. I'm Kathy Chester. So all blonde, but
there's lots of us around. So
yes.
Okay, let's get into it. If you don't mind, would you please share your MS DX story, your diagnosis story, and what you were doing prior to your diagnosis too? Just bring us to that point.
Diagnosis or before diagnosis, when you had symptoms that no one knew. I would say that started for me in about early 90s. I started to feel a lot of numbness. And then with each pregnancy, it got worse. And I have 3 children, 2 boys and a girl. The last one, pregnancy was great. Hormones felt awesome. I was like, I could do anything.
I know, girl. If I could just get pregnant and it didn't result in another child, I would stay the rest of my life.
I mean, if I was doing Tybo, I'm aging myself, but I was doing Tybo with my youngest and feeling just amazing. And, a few weeks after, all of a sudden I started to notice all of a sudden I wasn't feeling so good. And so that was interesting. I went to a doctor that my mother-in-law worked for a rheumatologist at the time, and he saw rheumatoid stuff. But what was ironic about that is the things I was coming to him with were numbness and things like that I had already lost sight of my right eye for just like a day or two. So I asked about that. So it was clear, like MS stuff that I was having. Now I do have rheumatoid, but that came on. That was the first diagnosis, and MS wasn't even out there. So then fast forward a couple of years later, and I'm still not feeling better. I'm still now I'm numb from my shins down, and I've got weakness in my body. I was a trainer at the time and a pastor's wife. So I would try to do a boot camp thing, and all of a sudden the coordination wasn't there. Cognitive stuff for me in the very beginning. So I told the story how I met my cousin, and I'm in Michigan. So we met like midway, and I just began to follow her back home instead of going home. No idea why. And I got there and I was like, I don't know why or what I just did. So things like that, helping my kids with their homework. All of a sudden I had no ability to add 2 numbers together. Writing, we talked about that. I love writing. I love reading, and writing became very difficult for me. So those were some of the things. And so we're now at like 1999, and that you get the glossy pamphlet. What would you like to be on?
Yes, you choose because you've been to medical school,
right? Well, let me see. I'm gonna go home and look through my medical books, and let me see. So
yeah, crazy.
At the time, they gave me two options. So I watched the VHS tapes of my two options, and the lady strolling on a bicycle. I was like, and then a slow, slow walk. And I'm like, ooh, this is my life. And so being so young in my 20s, it was pretty scary. At that time that we finally had it all, I had already had the 3 kids. I was, now we're fast forwarding to 30. And so I'm trying to understand what this all is. And prior to that, just trying to figure out what in the world I had and what was going on.
So you're an overachiever. You have rheumatoid arthritis and MS.
The two that don't go together. Somehow I'm just the lucky person that
overachiever. Yeah.
Right.
Explain to me how, because I know you kind of found a career path thanks to that diagnosis, right? So how did that fit in?
I would say in the beginning, I did things that we all did. I wanted to pretend like I wasn't sick. So during that, I did my normal job. At the time as a pastor's wife. And I actually was getting out of, I was in corporate travel, but I was getting out of that and doing more, because when you're a pastor's wife, it's, 2 for the price of 1. So you are there for everything. Right. So I actually found, for me, working with the women and the youth group, I really enjoyed. So I knew that there was a part of me that was loving speaking. So I was going around to different states, different places and speaking. I also noticed that, man, I would get this vertigo and just not feel so great after a plane ride, and what's going on with me. So I would say, as a pastor's wife with MS, I would learn to have some humor with it on my own. So as you can relate to the fog that we got, that I just had, I would have them come with me, like to really be present with me. So I would be speaking about women's issues, and I would say, now I have MS, I'm going to lose words. So I'll know if you're not listening, because I expect you to chime in with the word.
Yeah, right.
So it was a way to know, like, are you listening? Did I lose you? And learning, what is my career path going to look like? And in the beginning, it wasn't, I was training, I was jumping all over, I was keeping up with all of the clients. I wanted to look very professional. I wanted to be able to, jump up, do box jumps and run marathons. And I refused to give into what my body needed. I didn't even really understand what my body needed.
Right.
So I would say the first several years I did a lot of exercise, which I think definitely I can look back now and say, thank you. Eating for me, definitely. Eating for me was always, I wasn't into a lot of junk food. Chocolate isn't a big one for me.
Oh my God, I'd give anything if chocolate isn't a big one for me.
I know. It is so everybody asks me if I've got dropped in my head. So eating better, what just made sense to me. What made sense to me, even though we didn't discuss it back then, that if you don't move it, you'll lose it, which had a lot to do. Obviously, that was a big impact for me. Is there a part of my body I was willing to lose?
Right.
And it was absolutely not. So
that's a great question to ask people.
Yeah, for sure.
Which part are you okay with losing?
Yeah.
Yeah. We just won't work that part then.
Yeah. We'll just leave that
wakes people up. Yeah.
It does. And like, do you want to lose your arm, your ability to pick up your child or lift groceries? So it's important that MS patients know, and autoimmune patients know, there's a way to move safely and work out without jumping and things that we can't sometimes do. That's not good for our bodies.
Yeah. So you had already been a trainer, but how did you winnow it down to specifically MS and autoimmune?
So that was hard, because for a long time, I was the manager at this gym. It was the first one of its kind to be the studio of when it became HIIT workouts and circuit training and muscle confusion. And so I would be literally in a spotlight and have to do something like, lunges or jumping and just praying, like, please don't let me fall.
Yeah.
It was really hard because people didn't understand it at all. So they would look at me like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah.
Like, do it. And I'd be like, okay. And so I didn't say a lot. I just did what I could do. I worked a lot. I was also going through a divorce. So I felt the pressure to keep it under wraps, keep my mouth shut, and work as many hours as I could to provide. I realized after having a giant relapse that something had to change.
Yeah.
So how do you do that as a single mom? I didn't know there were any other options. So I tried to slow down as much as I could and tried to live on as little as we could. Then things started to change for me. I would say I started looking into other jobs as a trainer that didn't have so many. I started doing spinning. So I would spin.
God.
It was boring. I just didn't like it.
Well, that sounds painful too. Boring and just hot and painful, and like your butt would hurt. And
then you're jumping up and you're trying to like sound super excited. So it was a lot of learning what training would do with me. So I would say the best part was I realized as many times as I was going into managed places and help them get started, that was kind of a newer thing. Taking some off my body and helping them create a new gym, a new business out, what it would look like. So then I was doing that, but also realizing I was losing clients during that time. So what I did was make my own gym. So when I did that with my husband, who wasn't my husband yet, we were dating, and we actually started in my garage. And it was kind of just, to see how many people were still interested, how many people wanted to do this. And so I started to work with some of my MS clients because I had that facility and the ability to do it. And then teach classes, do personal training. So that was the beginning. And then moving to a different city into an actual place because we couldn't fit into the garage anymore. So
that's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
And that's when you said, these are my people. I'm going to keep it to, these are the folks I'm going to help. Awesome.
Yeah. I didn't like the big classes. I didn't ever feel like it was fair to look at 30 people and say, that was all, you did a great job. When one trainer can't see that. Yeah. So it was always important to me to have form and to have smaller classes. So that was always a big thing for me. The other thing was I was getting more notoriety as an MS patient, as an MS owner of a gym. So I would get phone calls, can you work with me? And then it began to get more certifications, things like that, to be able to slow down. And then that was so exciting to be able to start doing, to see the progress and to be able to slow my body down and to say, this workout's going to help us with drop foot. This is going to help us move our upper body. So I started doing a lot of that and learning, getting more certifications. And I mean, goodness, in COVID, that gave us a great opportunity to do that. Right? So
good. You used that for good rather than evil.
Well, really, yes. And really what it did is it gave us an opportunity to work with MS patients and autoimmune patients in any country, because it gave us the ability to do it via Zoom, which was
beautiful,
incredible.
Yeah, it is a beautiful, beautiful thing to work remotely is a gift. Why did you choose the name Disrupt?
So I get asked that a lot. I love the word disrupt. When it came to me, I had a lot of people I'd done a contest to come up with words. This was, 8-9 years ago. And this was just going to be for my personal training. And then I loved the idea of disrupting what we think we cannot do, disrupting our idea of, I thought this is how I was supposed to eat. I thought I wasn't even allowed to exercise. I thought I didn't even know I could do that. Look what I can now squat with MS. I can now use my arms and I can pick up my child. Disrupting this idea that you can't do anything, that the things you're unable to do.
Disrupt the I can't. Yeah.
Yes.
I like it.
Yes.
The doors to the Patients Getting Paid membership community are now wide open. This is a community of people with chronic illness learning to find and create flexible remote work that accommodates their health. I call us chronicpreneurs. There are trainings, coaching calls, networking opportunities, co-workings, and a ton of resources. Want to take better care of yourself and still generate an income? Join us at patientsgettingpaid.com. saw somewhere you said that circuit training is the most effective and efficient workout for both healthy and autoimmune clients.
Yes.
Tell me about that. Because when I think of circuit training, I think of being at a gym and going from station to station as quickly as possible. Is that basically it?
It can be. So if I have a regular class.
What do you mean by it?
So it is going to station. Okay. Now we're talking after COVID, bodies can't do that as quickly. So it's taking, because remember it was masked, and then it was, if you've got your vaccine, now you don't have to be masked. So there were a lot of changes, but what I really wanted to see was going to station, but the stations were not as intense. The stations were, there were options. So at every station you had the option. So if it was a circuit, if it was a station that you were doing cardio may look different for you and I than cardio looks for my 30-year-old client that is completely healthy.
Right.
So it's giving those options. And it's amazing how many clients choose the option that an MS or an autoimmune client has, because there's been so many things with their hips.
Yeah.
Now, if I'm doing circuit training with my MS clients, let's say I have a Zoom and I have one of these. So I do Zooms with autoimmune clients. And when I do that, we've got some of them in a chair, some of them standing. Mm-hmm. So when we do a station, I'll say, okay, we've got 30 seconds on. Now I want you to breathe. Give me some time. Give me 30 seconds. Breathe, sip of water. Then we're going to go to the next thing. So for them, I do a lot of bands. So a lot of band work. So strengthening our upper body, strengthening like I said, the parts that we don't want to lose, which is everything. Yeah. And then going to the legs, but helping them understand too, it's full body. It's not just our legs.
Yeah. So people can sign up with you obviously from anywhere. Yes. And then do you say to them, well, here are the types of bands you need to get that. And then when we meet, that's what we'll use. That's our resistance.
Yeah. And I'll send them also an email that says, this training session, I want your bands on the door. This training session, you're going to be seated and we're just going to use the small loop bands. So depending on what they're doing, I'll let them know ahead of time. Takes away the nervousness of, I don't know what we're doing today. So they've got this idea and set up. So they know, like, I need to be set up with this. And now I feel ready to go. Yeah. And showing things like my clients, things like this, which help me see them. So it's a phone. So let's say they're using their phone, right, to do the Zoom with me. So this allows them to point it down so I can see them on the floor.
What they're doing.
And I can see them if I need it up. So that way I can truly see what they're doing and not just say, well, it looks great, but I can really see them.
So do you send them a list of things that they need to purchase before your first? Oh, smart. Super smart. I love this. Yeah. So how does neurologic illness impact how you physically train people? Because you've trained healthy and you've trained us. So how does that
Yes. I would say, that's an interesting question, because in the beginning of my MS training, I had one of my counselors from childhood ask me, is this going to be too much for you to see some of the things that you're not there yet? Some of the patients and the clients that you have that are further than you are. Is that is that going to be something that is depressing for you, gives you anxiety? And I thought on it and I thought, no, and I believe, Kathy, it's honestly because I've done so much speaking with MS clients. I've done that so much that I feel very comfortable talking with them and letting them know. I'll also send them a video of what we did so they can see their progress as well.
Yeah, because fog might make you forget what you just did. I like that. That's great.
And so if I have homework, then they can see that as well. They know what their homework is. So I feel like that has been very, learning how to do this in a way that helps them. And circuit training for them, like I said, 30 seconds, and then we're going to take a break. So take that break. We'll do 10, 12 reps of something. Mm-hmm. Now I need you to 30 seconds, take a break, drink some water. It would be a good time to ask me questions, because during the time that they're focusing on those reps, I need their mind focused on what they're doing.
Concentrating. Yeah.
Right. So I don't play music. And I don't talk to them during what they're, unless I see something really bad with their form that could injure them.
And is that different than when you work with healthy patients? Do you have music on and you talk to them while they're working? I got you. Well, that's
so
smart.
When I'm with healthy patients,
distracting.
Yes, they've got it going. Now I will turn it down if I see something and say, hold, pause. But for our autoimmune clients, there's so many things going on and we're so distracted that not having music, but just having the two of us I've found that to be probably the best way.
Oh yeah. That sensory overload can just hit me out of nowhere. You know where I've really found it's true? And I resisted. It was obviously this was what was affecting me, but I resisted that for a long time, but it's at the grocery store. Every time I come back from the grocery store, I am so overloaded. I need to lay down. It's just too much. There's too many things. And I've gone to a really small grocery store now to help with that, which does.
Interesting. I do the same.
Yeah, it does help, but it's still too much and I need to lay down. So I love that you recognize that. And like, you got rid of the music, you got rid of that. Cause that's exactly right. When I'm trying to talk to somebody and there's music and I can shut down pretty quickly.
Right. I've worked really hard. I've been doing the same things I do with my patients, with my clients. Yeah. So I'm starting to be able to run a little bit. Now, is that something that I want to show off with a client that is really struggling to get? Right. Sometimes knowing the client, it can be encouraging. Mm-hmm. Sometimes with the client, you've got to know your clients. Right. Is that going to be a discouraging for them? So it's a lot of knowing your clients, getting to know them, asking questions, knowing about them. So then you know how to train them properly. Yeah. Because it's not just about movement. It's about also emotional training as well.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah. And so I know that you train across the spectrum of autoimmune.
Yes.
But in terms of MS specifically, are there specific things? Well, I bet like foot drop, right? I bet there are some specific things that you really work on for your MS folks.
So we do a lot of almost always band work. There's a couple that can do the weights, but I have them stop. So let's say we're going to go up and do a press, right? Mm-hmm. You got your bands, you ready to go? You ready to do it with me, Kathy? Okay.
Sure.
So let's say I'm going to do a shoulder all the way up. Okay.
Okay.
So let's say I'm noticing one's here and one's here.
Oh,
I'm going to say, go with the weaker arm.
Oh,
you stay with that arm.
Oh, I like
We're
that.
not going to go with the stronger. We're going to stay because we want them to be even. We want strength in both. So we'll do that. A lot of times that's with a band. And so they're learning how to do that. The learning muscles, also not the same thing because that gets boring, right? So if we're working chest and we're just doing chest, and I'm just having them do chest all the time. And we're just doing, bringing it in, doing chest and pushing out with just a chest press. So I like to have them do a chest fly with me. So we're getting different areas. So I do a lot of things that change because if you're like me, I get bored easy. So I get bored with my workout. I want things to change. So I feel like that's giving me a little edge up on it is that I think, well, we know females rule the world, right? But we know that I feel that we're more in tune with their emotions. And if they are not having a good day, I can say, you know what, hold, let's do 5 minutes of breathing and then let's start because your mind's not connected when you've got so many distractions. So let's pause.
Right. And that's huge.
I've never had an MS client say, no, let's keep going. They always like, yes, let's do that.
Thank you. Right. I bet.
Yeah.
Awesome. So as I recall, you were not, well, I know you weren't married to your current husband when you were diagnosed with MS. Okay.
Right.
Do you mind sharing the impact of your diagnosis on that relationship at the time when you were diagnosed and how you negotiated the difficult task of sharing your diagnosis while dating?
Yes.
I get these questions a lot. And
I bet you do.
Married when I got my diagnosis. So I don't know. I can only imagine what that would be like.
I was married when I got my diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So that was difficult. We didn't have a great marriage. So it was one of those.
So that didn't help.
No. Interestingly enough, this is another show, but I found that, and we've talked a lot about, I know you talk a lot about patients that stay in a marriage for the wrong reasons. And it was definitely, but the kids, what do you do without the insurance? Things like that we didn't know back then.
Kids, insurance, money. Yeah.
And now I'm a pastor's wife. What do I do with that? Pastor's wives don't leave. We're perfect.
Right.
We don't do anything
Yeah.
wrong.
There's no divorces there.
No way. So you're just out of the church after that.
Right.
So it was tricky. So after the divorce, I did not have any desire to date at all. I would go on, my friends would set me up and I'd go on some dates, and it was like, I'm just not ready. Then all of a sudden this guy comes into the gym so it was a bigger gym, and they had asked specific trainers from like the best gyms in our area to teach specific classes. So I was in this class, and all of a sudden this guy walks in, and I'm like, nice to meet you. And so after about 10 of my classes, he said, do you do personal training? I said, yes, I do. And he said, would you mind training me? So I trained him for, I think, a couple of years, and we knew each other very well, right? As friends, but he had already known that I don't date clients. So that was something that he had found out. So he's trying to think of, how do I do this? I'd really like to ask her out. We've got this great friendship.
Will you go out with me?
Yeah. So that was exactly it. So he said, if I stop training with you, could I go on a date? Would you go on a date with me? And I said, what jerk fires a single mom? So that was my answer. I didn't make it easy on this man at all. So he already knew I had MS. It came into a time I was training him, and I couldn't see where to put the, for lack of a better word, I had to put the pin in, and I could not see it. And so I had to ask him, and I said, you know what, I'm just going to let you know, I have multiple sclerosis. So sometimes I struggle with seeing some things. And
it's funky.
Yeah, it's real funky. So I felt like, I didn't think I'd be dating a man. So I thought, it's okay to say it.
Yeah.
So dating was interesting, to say the least, in the beginning, because what do? We want to keep up. I want to feel normal. I want to feel like I can drink I can drink Manhattans. Sure. What's a Manhattan? I don't know, but it sounds sophisticated. So
it is
two of those. And I was like,
knock you right on your ass. Yeah.
And that's where I was. So I was
anybody drinks that, they'll feel like they have.
Right.
This. Let me just
I was like,
now.
So know that does not work for me. Then we went on another couple dates, and he asked me to come out. He has a boat. He asked me to come out in his boat, and had the nerve to say, when I asked, what can I bring? Your toothbrush. So I obviously wanted to go, because it was like,
being all sexy.
I know, right? It was like angel devil, because my best friend that's very Christian would say, go home. My best friend that's also Christian but likes to have fun said, get there now. Right. Get to his house. You need to have some fun.
Crest toothpaste. It's done. Get over there.
Yeah, get there. So we just immediately, we already had this friendship, and it took about 2 seconds for it to get, okay, this is serious. And so my deal with my kids was always, I won't talk to you about any relationship. And they'd say, what relationship will you be? But unless it's serious. So that was our deal. So it was getting serious. And I said, I am dating someone, and it is getting serious.
How'd
it took a little bit. All really well. I mean, they all really, we would talk about all the time, like, what are they going to be like? Yeah. We have 5 total, and they all get along great.
Good.
They're very helpful with, being a team. My stepdaughter was awesome about getting us moving. So we moved during this, and I'll talk about that. That really was a transition in the MS and getting paid in a very different way. So we, the kids really helped a lot with that, and really doing a team with them. So anytime I need help, I'll call one of them and say, could you do this? Could you help me with this? Which is a great part of having that team.
Yeah. What a support. I was going to say, we've actually talked many times, and you've interviewed me for your podcast too. So I've seen your husband here and there, and he seems very supportive and really very much, loving toward you. It's lovely to see.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. So we got married in 2019, and I think that he always saw me so strong. I never really had any bad relapses or anything while we were dating or even married. Then all of a sudden we fast forward to right before COVID, and I get a phone call from my neurologist at the time saying, we've got a problem. Your numbers are up. So I was on Tysabri. My numbers were up, and I was then JC positive. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to figure out what am I going to get on? How am I going to do this? And was just not getting any real responses from my neurologist. Everybody was so COVID that I'm like, my numbers are going up and I still have no idea. Yeah. So it was a lot of confusion during that time. Yeah. Led me to, I'm like, I think you know this now, I'm on Ocrevus. I don't love it. I'm going to give it one more try, and has not been pleasant. 6 months. So doing all this with me, I think that it really helped our marriage for him to see the different areas, how MS can affect you, and how every doctor's appointment is just shuffling drugs. Yeah. And he was like, everywhere you go, they're just shuffling your drugs around.
Yeah, I know. That's a good way of putting it. That is so true.
Yeah.
So sorry, I'm going to bounce a little bit, but it's okay. The COVID head. Right. I mean,
I can bounce with
fog head. So back to Disrupt Fitness and the online component of that, is that like a one-on-one, what am I trying to say? Training, or is it like a membership? Like, is it like a gym type of thing monthly?
So we're talking the MS patients or just the gym itself?
Well, the online component. If somebody, were to look you up and said, I'm in wherever, Wyoming, and I want to work with you. Is that like a package deal? Is it a subscription?
So it's a subscription. And what I really find is that we try to come up with a number. Okay. So a number a week. Obviously 1 time a week isn't going to do a lot. So I try to get them 2 times at least. And then really trying to find a price that works with them and works with me as a business owner so that I can stay in business. Right. And so that is the tricky part, as you can imagine, as I revamp and really change my model over completely. I do find it difficult in the autoimmune world for them to understand that this is a business and not free. So I do a lot of free content I give them, but when it comes to now we're moving to this, and this is a paid membership or program, I get some pushback sometimes from that. So that's
interesting to me. That has happened to me on a number of occasions. And I'm never sure what to do with that, because I think, there seems to be this notion that particularly if you have the disease and you're working with people that have the disease, that it needs to be 100% altruistic on your part. And I always think, well, how do you think I'm supposed to use all my time to help you? And how am I supposed to pay my mortgage?
Exactly.
And
all the certifications and
anything. I mean, I need to live too. So it's really interesting. And I've seen this across the board in patient advocacy, unfortunately. So we're just re-educating people, Kathy.
It is. It really is under the understanding, what is it worth to you?
Yeah. Right.
What is your ability to walk? What is how bad do you want your life back and the things that you're missing? I can't put a number on that. I can give you what I can work out with you.
Right. And your time's valuable. I mean, you've put in all of these years of, gaining experience and knowledge and learning and certifications and everything. So,
so that has been,
I'm worth it.
I'm worth it. So it has been a very tricky part. The podcast isn't something, you get paid for that.
Yeah. So let's talk about your new podcast. Okay. I was just on it.
Okay. Yes, you were. You were my guest.
Thank you so much.
We talked so long. We had to break it in 2. It was so fun.
I know. It was really fun.
But I wanted to get it out so that the patient, and I just talk about it all the time. My patients that aren't getting paid, I'm like, well, here you go. Here, you got
to come over to patients getting paid.
Well, that's always a big frustration for me. Is I had an interview this morning, and she is doing some amazing things. She's a nurse, and she's going to be working with a team to help re-educate them, not just with medical, but also in a lot of the wellness program things. Mm-hmm. And so, with so many patients now saying, I'm just getting off everything, but not having an education on what does that look like? Right. So wanting to have some fun with the podcast, but also education.
Yeah. So that was my question. So that's free. That's free to anyone.
Right.
Free content. Yes. So what do you, I know what we talked about, but just tell everybody what kind of podcast it is and what you're doing there.
So Move It or Lose It podcast was a podcast that has been on my heart to do for I would say 10 years. And then it was just kind of a dream, but we know that a dream doesn't come true unless you put feet to it. And so it was really trying to learn. And my husband was really helpful in that I really wanted to do this. And during what really pushed me even more, I put a pause on that during COVID. I thought, it's not the time. I had already done some speaking engagements and said that it was going to come out June of 2020. Well, that wasn't going to happen. So what it did help me do is do some more research, what I wanted. And Move It or Lose It was so important to me, and putting disrupt in a lot of it, because Move It or Lose It is, if we don't understand movement, we will lose so many things.
Yeah.
And to educate on that, and to have people like you come on that have education in patients getting paid. How do we do that? That's a scary thing when we know it's time for us to let go of some of the things we're doing, the job that we had.
Right.
How do we do this? And as I'm working through this now, the podcast, like you said, is a free, but for me, I want it to be fun, educational, where sometimes I'm talking with another MSer and we might be swearing, we might just be cussing out, doing tips and tricks.
I don't like that. I do not like that cussing.
You're not a cusser. Although you are, every time since we did ours, I get an email or a text saying that was my favorite. I love how funny Kathy is. So,
oh, really? Oh, thanks. Everybody likes a good F-bomb.
Oh yeah. Everybody loves a good F-bomb. Absolutely. So, and a glass of, too bad it's not later. We could have had a glass of Pinot Noir together, a glass of wine or something.
Well, so nobody but us knows what time it is, sister.
Exactly.
We could go there.
I'm not saying what's in here. I'm just
right. Well, I know this is clear liquid, so it's not wine, but it could be vodka. Who knows? Who knows, Jen? Whatever.
No judgment. No judgment. No judgment.
Whatever gets you through the night. So your plan then with your podcast, just grow that and provide information and motivation for
and I've got some, exactly. I've got some companies like Holtec, Relief Pack, and some companies that I can advertise on the show, and they give me, I don't get paid for that yet.
Yeah.
But I am going to, I'll start to do some more IG things, go on and speak, which is always so fun to get on and just, here I am, but really just showing them the things that they can be used for, how I use them.
Right.
And being bold to, being bold to contact someone like a doctor and say, you would miss out if you didn't do this podcast. It would be
right.
So having confidence, I think, and for me, making it fun, making it educational, but also really making it meaningful as well. So I really enjoy it. I would love to write. I have some ghostwriters that are helping me doing some blogging. Because as we talked about, writing is just not my thing. So the podcast just seemed, so it made sense since I've done so much speaking that why would I not do a podcast?
Yeah. If you're chatty Kathy already, why not capitalize that?
Right. Why not talk about the things?
FUMS was born.
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
So that's really it. And Kathy, I think my goal is to really beat you. I want to beat you. I want to beat you. I want to be I want to be the top podcaster, not you. No, I'm kidding. I love you and you've inspired me tremendously.
Oh,
but
thanks.
With that, it's to educate and grow it and get paid for it at some point.
Yeah.
So that's the thing is, doing the Zoom classes. So, we're in the middle of the free Zoom and then it'll turn into where you have to pay. Right. So that's the kickback that you get, you get that fight or flight. And it's like, well, you got to be confident to say, this may not, but then not quitting.
Worth it. Right. We are
and really saying that. Exactly. Saying that to yourself as many times as it takes.
Exactly.
Is that worth it? And just, I would say, just plugging along. What is it that and I love in your email with yours that you send different options that are open. So, during my podcast, I've met amazing people, which I know you have. And actually one of the girls that I did an interview with, Melody, is actually now doing my social media for all my MS stuff.
Oh, that's
so I really needed to beef that up and show people how they could get to me. And so she is building a website. And so doing a lot of things that I'm just really excited about. So I have two girls that are working together to help with that. So
excellent.
But how do you pay them when you're not making money?
Yeah, right. I know all about that.
Yes.
Since I started this in 2011. Yeah, I know a little something about that.
Yes.
How are you doing health-wise? How's your health?
I would say stronger at times. Days I am exhausted. I'm not going to be able to stay up and do this. I've stopped doing all early morning training. So I used to teach at 5. I would do a 5:30 a.m. class. I don't do those anymore. Right. So really giving myself time and giving myself the patience that I give my clients and my other, I don't give it to myself. Right. I don't do that to myself. I push and push too hard. So it's listening to the team of people, right? So you have this team of a best friend, a spouse. And if I'm not listening when they're saying, you need to calm down, you need to slow it down, then I'm not doing myself any favors. So health-wise, I feel like probably you do. Some days I feel great. I can accomplish a lot. And the other days I'm like, the grocery store is it today.
Yeah.
I could do maybe.
Some days are diamonds, some days are stones. Yeah.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
So if people want to learn more about you and your business, where can they find you online?
So they can go on to my disruptfitnessgym@gmail.com. They can go on to MS Move It or Lose It, which is on Instagram. So those are my 2 Instagram handles. So, and then also there'll be a website very soon. I mean, email would be the best, I would say. Okay. And really going on, DM me and let me know. Facebook, message me. My Facebook, I would say, go on to the Disrupt Fitness Gym. And I would say, leave me a message. And until once the website's up, that's how you would do it. But until that's
your email address?
If they email Disrupt is disruptfitnessgym@gmail.com.
Okay. And all of these will be in the show notes. So
yes,
no worries, everybody. You can find them there.
And I'll send it to you because there will be an MS website as well. And so website, but also an email. So I'll send that to you as well.
Fantastic. And we'll put it in here. Well, thanks so much for being here with me today, Kathy. I really appreciated it. And one more thing.
Yes.
We here in the FUMS Nation, this is my favorite part, speak to the stupid disease as it deserves, and we tell it FUMS every day. Would you please lead us in the
Absolutely
MS with middle fingers extended up?
Yes.
Ready?
Of course. Ready?
1, 2,
3. Fuck you, MS.
You went there.
I went there.
Love you so much. Thank you, Kathleen. Take care.
Bye. You too.
Okay. Quick shout out to Steve Woodward at podcastingeditor.com for the fantastic work on this podcast, including editing, show notes, and ingenious ideas. If you'd like help with your podcast, whether you're just starting out or an old pro, visit podcastingeditor.com and tell Steve I sent you. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you listening to the FUMS podcast show. Be sure to subscribe to it so you won't miss an episode. You can do that right on the website at FUMSnow.com. While you're there, sign up for the free email list so you'll be among the first to know of any new findings in MS research, new therapies and products, as well as any blog posts and podcast episodes I release. Want to chat with others in the FUMS community? Join us on Facebook at FUMS Now. Thanks again, and don't forget to talk to the stupid disease as it deserves. Tell it FUMS every day.